Hello out there. We're on the air. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of 88 Lessons. This is number 11. One of my favorite numbers, 11. And it is titled The Biggest Misconception in Bitcoin. And we are live on YouTube and some other platforms as well today. So we're hitting our weekly dose of YouTube today. I'll show you the weather update today. It looks like a painting. A Norman Rockwell painting. Is that an artist? I don't know. Is he? Normie? Anyways, welcome everybody. What was I going to do here to start? Oh, I should check on Zapstream. I'll give a couple minutes here while people hopefully show up today. We had a long episode this morning, so I don't expect a whole lot of those people to be back. You can only listen to me for so long, I would say. Edit stream info. So what do we title this one? The biggest misconception in Bitcoin. Okay. So it's the next chapter here, the next iteration, the next lesson in our 88 lesson series. When I thought this up, I didn't really think about how far this would go into the future. 88 shows, one per week. That's almost 2 years. What? Why the heck did I sign up for something that's going to be 2 years? But hopefully we have some or all of you here for the entirety of it, because there's going to be some very valuable information. This information should be paid information. And I'm not just saying that to sound cool. This information should be paid for. But because I'm a nice guy, I'm doing it for free. Showing up for free. So if anytime during the show today, you're like, oh man, Jor, thank you. I learned something. I got some value. I got a laugh. You can support the channel here. Jor@rizful.com, or you can send some to Arnie Boy, who was here a second ago. I don't know if he still is. No, he gone. So it's one way to do it. We'll talk about more later, but welcome YouTube. Welcome to the other platforms, Nostr and Rumble. And I do see some people pouring in here. So we'll give a couple shout outs here to start the show. We got Ginger's here, we got Kevin, and we got Cannon in the YouTube. And I don't know about the Nostr because I haven't shared it yet. But just like every show, if you want some action-packed stuff, this is the place for you in terms of Bitcoin anyways. And the biggest misconception in Bitcoin. Look at that. We got some zaps already over there. Cannon, Sin, the boys. We are live, baby. We should definitely tell Nostr that we're live. We have to. All right. So let's talk about what we're talking about today. How's about that? Good to see everybody here today. Thank you for joining us. We'll go through our brief little agenda here that we do every show. And read the title. Nice. Did that right off the hop. Biggest misconception in Bitcoin. What do you guys and girls think it is? What do you think the biggest misconception in Bitcoin is? Before I tell you. Shout outs today. Big shout out. The biggest shout out to our guy, Gigi, one of my favorite Bitcoiners, legendary Bitcoiner, who has inspired a lot of my thoughts and my theories in Bitcoin. He's a philosopher who I aspire to be like. And if I'm ever mentioned in the same sentence as Gigi at any point in the future, that will be the honor of my life. So Gigi, he wrote a book called 21 Lessons. That's what this series is based off of, except we're doing 88. We're timesing that by 4. 21 is not enough. We're doing 88. And we're doing one video every week for the next 2 years, pretty much. So shout out to Gigi. Shout out to Michael Saylor, who had this quote. He said, the average person spends 100,000 hours earning money, going to work, providing value to the world, earning money. They should spend at least 100 hours learning how to keep that money. And so that's the idea of this series, or 88 lessons, 100 hours or 88 lessons. This 88 lesson series is going to be something that you can send somebody for free if they're interested in learning. and it's going to be 88 lessons, and it's going to be kept well under 100 hours. So you could send them this, and you could supplement with a few other things. But this series will have everything somebody needs to know to buy, send, receive, store, manage, use Bitcoin. And I don't know if you've noticed this yet. I don't know if you've caught on to this, but Bitcoin's going to be a pretty big deal in the future. And there's people, very influential people, telling you that every day. They're saying it. They're saying it out loud. They're literally telling you what's going to happen. Whether it's the president of the United States, whether it's Larry Fink of BlackRock, whether it's Elon Musk, they might not say it directly. Some of them do. Trump says straight up, we want to be the Bitcoin capital of the world. So the most influential country on the planet wants to be the Bitcoin capital. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Larry Fink, they spend over $100 billion. BlackRock and other big giants on Wall Street have bought over $100 billion worth of Bitcoin in the last 2 years. What do you think is going to happen? So if you have any sort of common sense, any ounce of common sense in your brain, you'll see very clearly that Bitcoin is going to be the biggest part of our future going forward. So shout out to you, the third shout out there. Shout out to you for showing up today. Shout out to you for showing up every day. It takes a lot of work, man. I know Bitcoiners take a lot of shit because we're a very misunderstood population of the planet. But Bitcoiners deserve a lot of credit, because not only do you have to have an open mind in order to find Bitcoin, but you have to put in a lot of work. And it says 100 hours there. I would say that that's kind of the minimum that people should do if you're serious about this stuff. If you just want to throw a little bit of money this way and have some exposure to Bitcoin, that's one thing. But if you want to get serious about Bitcoin, it does require a significant amount of effort and work, proof of work, some might even say. I do want to give a couple shout outs here to our new members of the channel. Cata Maria 99 joined a couple weeks ago. I forgot to give a shout out there. And Katie Akey, Cata Maria and Katie Akey. You might think those two are the same person, but they're not. They could be, but I don't think they are. And we got AW77553, a couple new members of the channel. I have a big announcement here to make today on the show. And that announcement is that Bitcoin School is now available on YouTube for members. So if you go to my profile, 88 Sats Radio, and you click join, there's a couple different levels there now. There's a level of $3 Canadian, which I didn't even know was possible for a tier to be that low. I don't know why. But anyways, that's what it was. So that's kind of just a support. If you enjoy what I'm doing, if you want to see more of it, if you got any value from me, very easy way to send some back. You can join as a Bitcoin Journeyman on there for $3 Canadian, which is like 5 cents American. Or you can join for the Bitcoin School tier, which is now available on there, which is a little bit more money. I think it's $10 more Canadian. But you're going to get a Bitcoin video every day. A Bitcoin video every day. And it's our Bitcoin School course, which officially starts on March 15th, 2026. But if you join before that, you're going to get 2.5 months of bonus content, essentially. We've been talking about body, mindset. We've been talking about Nostr, multiple income streams. That's going to be kind of the first 2.5 months of this. So the course officially starts March 15th, 2026. But there's going to be a video posted every single day between 10, 15, 20 minutes long. And there's already 6 or 7, I think, in there, whatever day we're on today. 6. So it's a very easy and the cheapest way where you can get access to the Bitcoin School videos that we do every day. You can now sign up as a member on YouTube. If you do want a little bit more, though, you can pay a little bit more. And I actually forgot to change the price. I was going to do it right before the show today. So you're in luck today. If you want a little bit more than that, or you can actually pay the same amount today, and you can join our school, which is school.com/88 sats. Sponsors, we have no sponsors. Most people are well aware of that, but we have no sponsors and therefore no filter. We can talk about whatever we want. We talk about the things that work because nobody's paying me. Nobody's paying me to promote their product, which means we're going to find the best information, the best products, the best exchanges. No filter. No subject. I shouldn't say that because we have a bit of a filter on here. That's why we do the daily show every day. But we do have no sponsors. So again, if you do feel like supporting the show, the mission, if you've received any sort of value from 88 Sats Radio along the way and you want to give some back, there is a Lightning address at the bottom there for you. So the game plan today, as people show up, looks like YouTube did show up today. We got a good attendance so far today. We're gonna do the lesson like we always start with. It's usually about 20, 30, 40 minutes. We'll see. Got a good one today. We're gonna do some Q&A. So if you do have any questions about the lesson today or anything else in Bitcoin, throw it in the live chat. And I won't be keeping up during the lesson, but we'll obviously go to it after. And we got something new called the Lightning List, which I will talk about in a little while here. And I think you're going to want to be a part of that. We're going to do our weekly smash buy for the show. We're going to buy some Bitcoin with an intelligent DCA strategy. And look at this. Sats and Sunsets just gifted 188 Sats radio membership. Who got that one? Thank you, Sats and Sunsets. Appreciate that, my friend. What a supportive guy, man. This Sats and Sunsets actually donated $250 worth of CoinKite gift cards to the channel to give away for Christmas. And he gave a membership on Rumble this morning, and he gave a membership on YouTube just now. So huge shout out to Sats and Sunsets. And if you do want to get a big shout out on the show, you could join as a member during the show. Pretty straightforward. So thank you, Sats and Sunsets. Appreciate that a lot. And we might even give away some free Bitcoin. We'll see. Which is also part of the Lightning List too. But anyways, I want to give a shout out here to Bitcoin Citadel, which is our Bitcoin security and sovereignty company, bitcoincitadel.net, and of course our school community, school.com/88sats. We've had 40 people join the last week. The place is absolutely buzzing. If you're a Bitcoiner, if you want to be serious about this stuff, I highly encourage, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I highly encourage you to join the school. You have nonstop discussion about this and that in Bitcoin. And if you're a content junkie like I am, you have hours, if not days, worth of exclusive content available in the school. And it is criminally underpriced right now. So the last one here, Daniel, one of the educators at Bitcoin Citadel, he's actually putting on a course right now. He's teaching people how to set up their own privacy laptop, essentially. If you're tired of your Windows creeping on everything that you do, there's a operating system called Linux. And so what Daniel's doing is he's actually doing a school session in our Bitcoin Citadel school. And he's doing a paid course. I believe it's $200 for the course. I think it's 5 weeks. And by the end of it, you should have your very own Linux laptop set up to do all your daily stuff on it. So if you're somebody who's been thinking about getting it set up on Linux, Daniel's your guy. So probably the best thing for you to do, I would say, unfortunately, I don't have a link to share, but you can just shoot me an email and I'll put you in touch with Daniel and you can get set up. I believe the first class is on Saturday. So for anybody out there who is thinking about Linux, absolute no-brainer. For $200, I think most of those courses are like thousands of dollars. So you can send an email to 88sats@proton.me if you want more information about the course or you would like to sign up. So there you go, 88sats@proton.me. Oh, that's good. Alrighty. So without further ado, let's get right to her. How about that? Let's take this off for a second. Okay, so the biggest, actually, sorry, I should check on Nostr real quick before we go any further because I do see some zaps coming in here. I do see some zappers. Shout out to Nostr. We got 15 people watching over there right now. Shout out to Nostr. Okay, there we go. Biggest misconception in Bitcoin. Where's this live streams? I see some folks have sent a couple freedom units into the reserve here. So thank you. Okay, where's Noster? Watch. Hey, look at this. We got Sin Diesel. Sin Diesel, the man. He zapped 18 and he zapped 45 for the great state of Texas. And Cannon with a great number, 420. Cannon zapped 420 units of freedom, 420 units of sovereignty. And we got the spirit of Eli. Says it's too expensive. Yes. You are correct, my friend. That is the biggest misconception about Bitcoin. Very simple, very plain. It's too expensive. So we'll come back to that in a sec. Look at this. Ash Ketchum of Pokemon. Ash Ketchum of Pokemon just zapped 1,000 units of sovereignty for the show, for the channel. Thank you, Ash Ketchum. And Rich O'Brien, one of our favorite guys from Ireland, just zapped 88 sats and said, keep stacking. Thank you, Rich. Okay, so without further ado, everything sounds good. Everything looks good. And before we get started here, I see some funny commentary in the chat here. So MDRX says, what part of Canada are you from, Jor? And Forrest, one of my good pals in Bitcoin, my partner in crime, one of my partners in crime, and co-host of Maple Bitcoin, says the cold part. And he is right. For anybody who wasn't here at the start of the show, yes. Actually, it's not that cold today. Looks cold. Looks beautiful. But that's the art on my wall looking out. So here we go. This is the lesson number 11. And it is titled The Biggest Misconception in Bitcoin. And somebody in the chat just nailed it in Noster. So that's what we're going to start with today. That's the biggest misconception in Bitcoin. So that's what we're going to start with. And then we're going to talk about a bunch of other stuff from there. It's too expensive. This is why most people go to XRP. Doge. Forrest, what's their favorite one? I don't even remember. That's how irrelevant they are. Caspa, Ethereum. Everything's cheaper than Bitcoin. Everything is cheaper than Bitcoin, right? So if something's $1, I feel like I have a much better chance of getting rich than something that costs $100,000 or $90,000 or whatever it is today. But if you watched our Saturday show, you will notice that we stopped pricing Bitcoin in fiat terms. We are no longer pricing Bitcoin in fiat terms. We're pricing it in gold. And the current value of one Bitcoin is 20 ounces of gold. Because we talk about it all the time on the show. We say, well, fiat is irrelevant. It's an illusion. It's fake. And it is. It's impossible to measure anything accurately against fiat. Why? Because people can print it out of thin air. And that's just like a very minor problem, minor issue with it. But the other problem is that we have no idea how many dollars actually exist out there. We have no idea what the denominator is. And when you have no idea how many units of something exists, it's impossible to fairly measure something against it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start measuring Bitcoin in terms of gold. I don't know if there's any other channels out there. I want to be the first Bitcoin channel to not price Bitcoin in fiat anymore, but strictly in gold. And even gold's not perfect because we don't know how many ounces of gold. If anybody can tell me the exact amount of gold that exists out there, both above ground and yet to be mined, I would love to hear it. Then I'll change my mind on that. But until then, it's the closest thing that we have, though. So one day everything's going to be repriced in sats. And one simple thing you could do here before we get into the nuts and bolts of the show today, just ask AI this. Ask AI, how many houses are in the world approximately? And I think the answer is around 2 billion houses. And then take that 2 billion and divide it by 21 million. Or sorry, divide it by 2.1 quadrillion. One of the two. 2.1 quadrillion or 21 million. And you'll see that the average house in sats, the average house will cost about 500,000 sats. That's assuming that the only other asset on the planet is houses. And that's assuming that every Bitcoin is available. So actually one of the theories I have, I encourage you to go back and look at, if you're interested in this. This is just kind of an aside to the lesson today. But go back to the video that I did on Saturday. I believe it was titled what? What was it titled? It was a live stream. It was titled Looking Ahead at Bitcoin. I'll share the link here for you. But I talked about my theory on quantum computing and why it's actually a good thing, not a bad thing in Bitcoin. And the reason for that is because we're actually going to be able to have a clearer picture of the available supply. Because there is a difference between the total supply of Bitcoin, which we know to be 21 million or 2.1 quadrillion approximately. To be exact, it is 2 quadrillion, 99 trillion, 999 billion, 997 million, 690,000 Satoshis. That's the total amount of Satoshis that will ever exist. So you would find, but my theory on that is that with quantum computing and developments in technology, basically what that's going to do is it's going to force old wallets to move their Bitcoin. And what does that tell us? It tells us that somebody has a key to that Bitcoin. Those coins aren't lost, right? Because if old wallets are worried about quantum computing hacking the wallet, then they're incentivized to move the coins. They don't have to sell the coins, but they need to move the Bitcoin to a newer address. And so that simple act of moving the Bitcoin from an old address to a new one that's resistant to technology at that point, whatever we are in time, that's going to give us a clearer picture of how many Bitcoin are actually available. So there is a difference between total supply, which again, we know to be 21 million or 2.1 quadrillion sats, and the available supply. So that's why this is pretty much like highest cost. And you can do this. This is objective math. This isn't my opinion on what a house is worth. This is objective math, taking the number of houses in the world and dividing it by the total Bitcoin available, total sats available. And you'll see that the average house in the world costs about 500,000 sats. I should put that in here because people are going to think that's dollars. Sats, which you can buy for about $500 today. So just kind of a quick aside there before we get into the main part of the show today. But that's why I think that even tying it back to this, where people think it's too expensive, you don't need to get one whole Bitcoin. You can buy $2 worth of Bitcoin. You can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin. You can buy $5 billion worth of Bitcoin. You can buy any amount that you want. So if you think about it that way, if the average house is going to cost 500,000 sats priced in Bitcoin, once the world is repriced in sats, which it's going to be, you can buy that for $500 US today. So you don't need a whole Bitcoin, even for the people who are like striving to get to one Bitcoin, you don't need to. There's going to be probably less than 1 million people. I want to make room for that because that's very important. I'm going to put that right at the top. I believe I should put that. I believe there will be less than 1 million whole coiners with one BTC at the end of this. Adam Back made a tweet the other day, and he said that he thinks we've actually hit peak whole coiners right now. I calculated that it would take about 30 to 35 years for the average person starting at zero to get to one Bitcoin. Of course, our plan here in this community and the people who watch the channel, our goal is to be anything but average. So that doesn't really apply to us. But the average person who's going to work, they have a little bit of take home cash at the end of the year. I would say best case scenario, assuming Bitcoin doesn't crash to like $20,000 again, it would take the average person 30 to 35, maybe even more years to get to 1 Bitcoin. So that's all nonsense. The fact that people think that they can get into XRP because it's $1, whatever the hell it is now, and that's how they're going to get rich, it's nonsense. And I would encourage you actually to go check out Forrest's channel, because he's going to be doing a full series on this kind of thing, where he's talking about the problem with XRP, the problem with Ethereum, the problem with Tangent wallets, the problem with Ledger wallets. So it's just a big misconception. People are lied to. XRP, Kaspa, these companies, that's what they are. They're companies. They have very good marketing teams, and they have a lot of people who have a lot of vested interest in it, who are pushing these narratives that are just complete nonsense. So that is the biggest misconception in Bitcoin, that it's too expensive. So what do we want to do about that? Well, we want to buy some Bitcoin. And again, you can take $10, you can take $100, you can take $500, get yourself the value of a house in Bitcoin. You can buy any of these amounts. You can buy $1 worth. There's people who DCA every hour for like 25 cents an hour. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So there's a little more to it than just buying Bitcoin. A lot of people kind of get turned off. It's kind of like the Dunning-Kruger effect in Bitcoin. One of the very many Dunning-Kruger examples. But it's like a lot of people with zero knowledge of Bitcoin, they either A, think it's too expensive, like we just talked about, or they think it's very difficult. And so then once they do it for the first time, they think that they're experts at it because it's easy to do. Because literally all you're doing is you're sending an exchange, another company, your dollars. If you know how to send an e-transfer or a money transfer or anything, you can buy Bitcoin. But the question is, what do you do with it there? And I think that once people get, that's the spike in the Dunning-Kruger, and then they realize, hey, there's a lot more to this than just sending somebody else money and me having Bitcoin. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk through today. I don't know how far we're going to get into this. I have a big spreadsheet on this. I might have to save some for next week, but we'll see. So kind of the first thing to know as you're going through the valley of despair in terms of buying Bitcoin is just being aware that there's plenty of ways to buy Bitcoin. Plenty of ways to do it. So we'll start off with a custodial exchange. And this is kind of what people would be most familiar with. This would be something like Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, ShakePay, River. Because what's a custodian? I know this is kind of confusing. I was really confused with this myself for a while when I got into Bitcoin. It kind of seems backwards, but think about it this way. What is a custodian? Someone who looks after your stuff. So if we think about the traditional financial system, banks are custodians, right? You take the bank $10,000, they ask you where you got this money, you tell them to kick rocks, and they put it in your account. They're the custodian of that money. It's basically like you have an IOU from the bank that they're going to repay that to you someday. You're trusting them with your energy, which in the form of money. So banks are custodians. And so custodial exchanges, examples of this would be Coinbase, Kraken, River. Not that these are bad. I love River. I recommend everybody use River. So these aren't bad. This is a good option for people, especially if you're brand new to Bitcoin. River, ShakePay, basically anybody that will hold Bitcoin for you. That's what it is, because that's what you're doing. You're sending them money. You can buy Bitcoin and they'll hold it for you. So that's custodial exchanges. Again, not a bad thing. There's this another big misconception in Bitcoin is that everybody, once they buy Bitcoin, should take immediate possession of that Bitcoin. And I think that's horrible advice. I do think that everybody obviously should take self-custody of their Bitcoin at some point. That's literally what I do for a living, is help people do that. But you don't have to do that if you're brand new to Bitcoin. You have a big allocation to Bitcoin. And that's where you would use something like this, a custodial exchange. So I'll take these out of here because I do not recommend people use Coinbase. But Kraken's a good company. River's a good company. ShakePay is a good company. These are exchanges that you could use where you basically send the money, you buy Bitcoin, and you have exposure to Bitcoin without actually having the risk of losing your keys. Because I would say that, I don't know what the exact percentage of this would be, but we'll go 80%. It's likely much higher than this. 80% of people who lose Bitcoin do it to themselves. They lose the private keys because they don't know what they're doing yet. They get all excited. They buy some Bitcoin. They hear somebody on YouTube saying, not your keys, not your coins. They move it to a wallet. They have no idea what they're doing with their private keys. They have no idea about the privacy concerns with it. They have no idea about anything. And then they forget to write it down, or their housekeeper cleans up the piece of paper that they had the 12 words on, and their Bitcoin's gone. So custodial exchanges are for some people. If you don't feel comfortable holding the keys to your Bitcoin and taking on that responsibility, custodial exchanges are for you. Not forever, but they are for you in that time. And so kind of my recommendation for that would be this. My recommendation for that, because my advice used to be in Bitcoin. My old advice was only invest as much as you know. So if you asked yourself, what's my knowledge of Bitcoin? And you answered it 5 out of 100, 2 out of 100, then you should allocate 5% or 2% to Bitcoin. That was my old advice. But my new advice is buy a lot and let someone else, custodian, hold it while you figure it out, while you learn. So then maybe you starting with 90% on the exchange. Basically, my new rule is 10% in self-custody. Basically, my new rule is going along these same lines, which is only take self-custody as much as you know. Which means that if you have a 5% understanding of Bitcoin, only 5% of your Bitcoin should be in self-custody. And that'll change over time, right? Like as you show up to this weekly session, as you watch other Bitcoin content, as you learn by doing, this number is going to go up. Maybe next year it's 10% of your Bitcoins in self-custody because you've learned a lot more. You're more comfortable. You should only hold 5% in self-custody. So that's my new rule with that. I'm going to have to create some more space here. Okay, so back to our places to buy Bitcoin here. So that's custodial exchanges. I do think that they're very useful for a certain segment of Bitcoiners. But again, as your knowledge grows, as you become more confident and comfortable in the responsibility and storing your own private keys, that's when you move it away from the exchanges and into your own possession. Because that's the real superpower of Bitcoin, is that it's the only asset that you can truly own. The only asset that you can truly own. So you want to be able to do that. You want to learn how to do that. That's the superpower of Bitcoin. Non-custodial exchanges. So that's the opposite. That's where they don't hold your Bitcoin. And I don't know how many non-custodial exchanges actually exist. The one that I'm most familiar with, obviously, is Bitcoin Well, which I use to buy all my Bitcoin. And I believe Bull Bitcoin is the same. I don't think either of these companies actually hold Bitcoin. So essentially what happens there is you send these companies money, they convert it into Bitcoin, and then they send it to your Bitcoin wallet. They don't hold it at all. They take your money, convert it into Bitcoin, and send it to the wallet address that you provided to them. They don't hold anything. So it's the same kind of thing as like, think about this. What's a custodian? Someone who looks after your stuff. Bitcoin Well, Bull Bitcoin, they do not look after your Bitcoin for you. They don't even give you the option. So that's why I have no issues being such a supporter. Obviously, I buy all my Bitcoin with Bull Bitcoin, but the fact that you can't get rugged, you cannot get rugged by Bitcoin Well, I should say. Both these companies, I love both Bitcoin Well and Bull Bitcoin. I'm a huge advocate of both of these exchanges. Bitcoin Well is available in Canada and the US, and Bull Bitcoin's available in Canada, Costa Rica, Mexico, Argentina, Europe, France. France is in Europe, I believe, but it says Europe on the website. So these exchanges are for Bitcoiners who are a little bit more advanced, I would say. Somebody who would know how to set up a wallet and somebody who would know how to store their private keys properly. That's who you want to be using for the non-custodial exchanges. There's also Bitcoin ATMs, which you can basically, it's pretty straightforward. I've used Bitcoin ATMs before. It's pretty hard to mess that up. You have to have some sort of Bitcoin knowledge, but basically you take cash, you deposit it into the ATM, and once it counts your cash and figures out how much Bitcoin is, you provide an address or scan a QR code, and then they send you that Bitcoin. So there's actually Bitcoin ATMs like Bitcoin Well. And this is what I would suggest you do, especially if you're in Canada. Bitcoin Well Lite account, where you don't put in your ID. So even if you have a Bitcoin Well account, you could create a secondary Bitcoin Well account with like a burner email account. And then you just have a Lite account. And that's where you can actually go to a Bitcoin ATM if there's one around you, a Bitcoin Well ATM. And you can do all that privately without any ID attached to it. So I don't know how long that's going to be available. I think you can do up to like $5,000 a day. You have to do them in under $1,000 increments. But that's a very prime way to get yourself some Bitcoin that's not attached to you. And I got to be careful what I say here, obviously, and I probably shouldn't even, I'll just shut up. So what I don't like about this one is they're always listening. But anyways, you can also buy it without ID from like a Bitcoin Meetup. Bitcoin Meetup, if you can find one in your local area, you can try to find somebody who's willing to sell some Bitcoin to you. You give them cash, no ID needed. You can join a community. And I don't know of any communities who are doing this. But if you join a community, there's always people buying and selling Bitcoin, and they know what they're doing. So that would be another benefit to joining a community. And I happen to know of one that's pretty active, pretty active. So I'll leave that one there. And one of the big questions I always get is like, Jor, how much Bitcoin should I have that's not associated with my ID? Which is a great question. And I would say just get as much as you can. Like just have a goal of like, I don't know, keeping 5 to 10% that's not connected to you. You want to have some that is actually connected to you. Because if you ever want to go to the bank and take out a loan against your Bitcoin, it's going to be required to have your ID there. So there's benefits to both. Don't just go one or the other. If you're somebody who's been buying a lot of Bitcoin on these exchanges where you put in your government issued ID, try to get some of these. Try to use a Bitcoin Well ATM, join a community, try to just get a small stack of Bitcoin that's not connected to you. And if you're somebody who obsesses over getting that kind of Bitcoin, I think my personal opinion, and especially if you don't want to have to sell your Bitcoin one day in the future, you should try to get some that is actually KYC'd. You're going to pay a lower fee too, because a lot of these ATMs and other ways to do it, I forgot to mention, there's a couple of things you could use, including BISC, RoboSats, couple ways to do it. But again, I guess if you want to completely leave the system, that's a good way to do it. But for some people, even me, I still have a couple toes in the old system here and there. So I need some Bitcoin that's connected to me. So it's up to you. Everybody's different. Everybody's going to have different thresholds. Everybody's going to have different threat models. Every Bitcoiner has a unique situation. So it's impossible to have a blanket statement saying, this is how much you should have of this and how much you should have of that. Everybody's different. So the one thing that I would say before we kind of put a bow on this part is just understand that custodial exchanges like Coinbase are basically giant slush funds. And unless you're using an exchange like River that shows proof of reserves, there is a good chance, just like the banks, there's a good chance they don't actually have your Bitcoin. So if you are somebody who's someone new to Bitcoin, you're not comfortable taking self-custody of your Bitcoin yet, just pay very close attention to which custodial exchange you're using. Because think about it. Coinbase has millions of people just sending them cash every day, dollars. It's not like they take your $100 every time you send it into Coinbase and just automatically buy Bitcoin with that. They don't do that. They probably have a giant spreadsheet of their cash and their Bitcoin. And I would bet my life saying that they have far more cash than they have Bitcoin. So just be careful. Be careful. And so again, that's why I suggest using River, because they actually show proof of reserves. You can go to their website and you can see exactly how much Bitcoin they have. They do a monthly update on that. And so I'm going to share this link for anybody who's in the US, not overly confident with their Bitcoin yet, wants to use a custodial exchange. I highly recommend River. Okay, so that's the exchanges. Just to kind of wrap that up, custodial exchanges are good for some things. Like I use ShakePay still because we do our daily buys on the show. And so I'll send like $100 or $150 into my ShakePay account, and I use that to buy Bitcoin throughout the week. They hold my cash, they hold my Bitcoin. Whenever I have a decent size UTXO, I move it to cold storage. For people who aren't confident and comfortable taking self-custody and actually holding their own private keys, use a custodial exchange. Just hold it there till you're ready. Could be a month, could be 6 months, could be a year. Obviously, there's a risk that you're going to get rugged, but that's why I suggest using an exchange like River instead of anybody else. And if you are a little bit more advanced and you don't want any chance of getting rugged and you want a lower fee, usually too, because they don't have to look after holding your Bitcoin, Bitcoin Well and Bull Bitcoin probably have the lowest spreads, lowest fees available to the average person out there. So if you're more experienced, and then in terms of getting some Bitcoin that's maybe not associated with your ID, go to a Bitcoin meetup, join a community like our school community. Again, I don't know of any communities who are actually doing that, but maybe you'll find one. And then you got some other options here too. I don't know why I should have put these in the bottom one, I guess. Join a community. There we go. Okay, so where are we at here? We are 44 minutes into this. Okay, well, we're definitely not going to get through this whole thing today then. So let's go to this next part here. Because even when you get to that point, you're like, okay, well, I found a good exchange. Now I want to start buying Bitcoin. I want to remove it. And every exchange is different. Some exchanges do not offer Lightning withdrawals, but I would say Lightning you could kind of use both of these. So essentially, again, what happens, the flow of this whole process is that you send one of these exchanges, one of these companies, dollars, and you can either hold it there with them or you can convert it to Bitcoin and they'll hold it for you. Or if you're using something like Bitcoin Well or Bull Bitcoin, that's not part of the process. They just send it directly to you. But you also have the decision to send it on chain or send it with Lightning. And so this is probably one of the bigger questions that I've seen in the comments and that I get asked is like, what is the impact of DCAing or recurring buy with my UTXOs? And I know we haven't covered UTXOs in this series yet, so if you don't know what a UTXO is, it's basically a chunk of Bitcoin. So every time you receive Bitcoin into your wallet, it creates one UTXO. So in other words, if you were buying Bitcoin, let's say you were buying $5 every day in Bitcoin, you set up a recurring buy to buy $5 worth of Bitcoin, and you did it at Bitcoin Well, and you did it on chain. That means that every day you would have a new UTXO in your wallet worth about $5. And so that's a problem because when you go to spend that Bitcoin in the future, it's not based on the amount of Bitcoin you're sending. It's based on the size of data associated with that transaction. And so very simply, if you had one UTXO that you were sending, it's very cheap because it's based on data size. So a UTXO is a chunk of Bitcoin, which is data. You want to minimize the amount of data that you're sending, essentially. That's the unlock there. If you had 100 UTXOs that you were sending, let's say that you had to combine it for a large transaction, it will be very expensive because you're sending 100 chunks of Bitcoin, 100 pieces of data, and therefore you're going to pay a transaction fee based on the size of your transaction. And so if you had to send 100 UTXOs, that's going to cost you a lot. And so you really want to minimize. Again, I don't want to get too far into this because this is a completely separate topic, very important topic, but separate from what we're talking about today. But basically, if you're buying on-chain and you're doing a DCA, yes, that would be a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Because if you were buying $5 a day on-chain and they're all being sent to your Bitcoin wallet, you would have 365 UTXOs at the end of the year. So that's not what you want at all. You never want that. So I would say use on-chain options for like smash buys. Let's say you have $500, $1,000, $10,000. That's when you send it on-chain. Lightning, I would say, works great for DCA and recurring buys. And again, I'm somebody who does both these things. I do both smash buys on-chain and I do DCA and recurring buys over Lightning. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. You have to know when to use which option. So that's another thing too, is make sure you're using an exchange that actually has the option to do on-chain or Lightning. The alternative to this, so Bitcoin Well, that's who I use. They have Lightning. And so basically with Bitcoin Well, every time I get like a large sum of money somehow, however that comes in, I do a smash buy on Bitcoin Well. And so I'll send it to my on-chain, my cold storage. So everybody asks, like, what's the optimal size of a UTXO? I would say don't send to your wallet if it's under $200 is probably a good threshold, about 200,000 sats. My threshold is a little bit lower. I use about 100,000 sats. That's kind of mine. So maybe I'll tell people that too. Let's say $100. A lot of people think it's $1 million minimum. That's insane. Insane. Doesn't make any sense. Anybody who tells you that the minimum amount of UTXOs, the size should be 1 million sats, is thinking in today. They don't have the ability to see a week in advance, essentially. And they don't understand the privacy concerns that people are going to run into with 1 million sat UTXO. So we'll just keep it very simple. If you're buying on chain, do not send it to your wallet if it's under 100,000 sats. So the third option here is just leaving it like on the exchange, right? So that's something that you could do with River, where you could do both options here. You could either do a smash buy, leave it on there, or you could do a DCA, leave it on the exchange, set up a recurring buy, leave it on the exchange. And then the cool thing about this is like once it gets to a certain balance, so let's walk through an actual example here. An example of doing it on an exchange would be, and this would be something like River. Oh, what did I do there? So we'll use River as an example. You set up a recurring buy on River because you want to automate things. You don't want to have to think about it every time you want to buy Bitcoin. You just want to buy it. You set up a recurring buy every day. River pulls $5 out of your bank account, automatically buys Bitcoin, and it stays on River. So you set up a recurring buy on River, $5 per day. It stays on River because, again, they are a custodial exchange. So you can keep it on there. And then when your Bitcoin balance gets to be 100,000 sats or more, then if you're comfortable, you can move it off. This will only create one UTXO. So this is very, very, very important. This is very important for people who are somewhat new to Bitcoin to understand. That even if you have a recurring buy set up and you're buying $5 a day, every time you buy Bitcoin, that doesn't create a new UTXO, because UTXOs are only created when the Bitcoin actually moves on chain. So you set up a recurring buy, you build up your balance. Once it gets to that threshold of 100,000 sats, then you move it to your wallet. So that whole process there, what would that be? 20 days, approximately. You get 5,000 sats a day, 20 days, 100,000 sats. Then you move it from River. If you're comfortable doing it, you move it from River to your Bitcoin wallet. That only creates one UTXO. So that's one option. That's one option. The other option here is that you could use Bitcoin Well as an example. And this is how I do it, because I don't have access to River. So you set up a recurring buy. Forgot buy up top there, but that's okay. On Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well for $5 a day. Except, again, because Bitcoin Well is a non-custodial exchange, you cannot keep it on Bitcoin Well. So what you do now is you send it over the Lightning Network. So last episode here that we did, where we set up a Wall to Satoshi address, that's where you would actually go into Bitcoin Well. You would add that address. So it would be, let's say, jor@rizful.com. I would put that into my address there for where the Bitcoin is going to go every day. And then it's the same kind of thing. When your Bitcoin balance, so now instead of keeping it on the exchange, you're actually sending it to your own Lightning wallet instead. So when your Bitcoin balance gets to be 100,000 sats or more, then you can move it off. Exact same thing. So the top option here is using a custodial exchange that holds onto your Bitcoin until it gets to a certain threshold, in this case being 100,000 sats. And the bottom example here is setting up a recurring buy, but they actually send you the Bitcoin every day over Lightning. So also, there's no UTXOs on Lightning. So every time they send it to your Lightning wallet, that doesn't create a new UTXO. So then eventually, you're not going to move it off here. Let me rephrase that. You can move it on chain. Or you could leave it for a while. You could let it get to 200,000 sats. I honestly wouldn't keep a huge balance on your Lightning wallet. unless you're using something like Wallet of Satoshi where you have the self-custody option. So then essentially you're doing the exact same process there, except every time you buy, it's going to your Lightning wallet instead of being held on the exchange. But you go through the same process of letting it build up, either letting it build up on the exchange or letting it build up in your Lightning wallet. And then once you get to that threshold, you swap it on chain or you move it to your Bitcoin wallet and you only have one UTXO there. And then of course, the third example here, the third and final, I guess, because we're kind of over time already. So we'll have to leave our strategies for next week. So the third option here is we'll use, I don't know. No, let's use Bitcoin Wallet because this is where I buy my Bitcoin. You do a smash buy of $1,000. So essentially now you add your Bitcoin wallet address on chain and they send it to you. And you have one UTXO. So it's kind of pretty straightforward. You have $1,000. You send them $1,000. They convert it to Bitcoin. They send the Bitcoin to the Bitcoin address that you provided. And you have one UTXO in that wallet now. So you don't have to mess around with Lightning. You don't have to leave it on the exchange. So it really depends. These are good for recurring buys. And that's what I would suggest. I would suggest everybody have at least one recurring buy set up. Set up one recurring buy. So I'll probably mention this again next episode, but I do want to say this. Because it looks like we're going to be doing the strategies next week and we're going to be doing some tips. But in the meantime here, this will be the kind of the round out of the show today, or not the show, but the lesson, is my recommendation is to sign up for 2 to 3 exchanges. 2 minimum, 3 maximum. 2 minimum, 3 maximum. And the reason I say that is because we haven't seen this for a while, but when Bitcoin is very volatile, it's been pretty much asleep for a year now. But when Bitcoin's very volatile, there's a lot of opportunity for both buying and selling. So when the price is shooting up and you maybe had 1 or 2% set aside of your stack that you wanted to trade into cash to pay something off or buy something that you've been putting off, you want to be able to sell that, right? Or when there's some random news from some random country and Bitcoin on a Sunday afternoon tanks. And you're like, holy shit, this is my moment here. I can pretty much double or triple the amount of sats that I was going to buy right now. And you log into the exchange and it tells you, sorry, down for maintenance. And this has happened to me numerous times. The one that I really remember, though, it was about 2 a.m. on a Friday night. And I was using Binance at the time. Binance was an absolute shit show. You actually had to buy USDT first. You had to send some random person an e-transfer. They gave you USDT. You had to convert that USDT into Bitcoin and then move your Bitcoin off, and they charged you a bunch of fees. It was a shit show. But the point I'm trying to make is that it was crashing. I think it went from like 20,000 all the way down to like 8,000, something like that. I forget the exact numbers, but I was like, oh my God. I was sitting on the couch, looked at the price, ran to my office, and I tried buying. But Binance was down for maintenance. It wouldn't let me buy. So my recommendations here is make sure you have at least 2 or 3 different exchanges, because when that day comes, and it will, you want to make sure that whatever exchange you use, if it's down, you have a backup. Even if you only use one of them regularly, make sure you at least sign up and have these exchanges kind of in your back pocket for if and when this happens. So my top recommendations here are for Canadians. I'd say one is Bitcoin Well. And I'm going to put links to all these in the pinned comments, and I'll throw some in the chat here right away. Bitcoin Well, number 2 is Bull Bitcoin, and number 3 is ShakePay. In the US, I would say River, Bitcoin Well, and then probably Strike. I've never used Strike, but I like Jack Mallers. And so that's who I would say. A lot of people that I trust use Strike. But if I was an American, I would definitely be using River. And then the rest of the world, I don't want to leave you out here. Kraken's a good exchange. Caleb and Brown, you could try. There's some random, I think Coin Corner in the UK is a Coin Corner. You can actually go to bitcoin.org. Here, let me go there right now. Actually, I'll show you. So this is for people outside of Canada and the US. You can go to resources, exchanges, and then you can scroll down here and find your country. And I believe Coin Corner is a good one. It doesn't say Bitcoin only, but I'm pretty sure they are Bitcoin only. I don't see any cryptos on here. I don't have an affiliate link or any sort of association with Coin Corner, but that's a UK exchange, Coin Corner. And some of them say Bitcoin only. Again, I'm pretty sure Coin Corner is actually Bitcoin only. So don't solely rely on this resource. Do a little bit of work yourself. You can see here Bitcoin Well, Bull Bitcoin, both Bitcoin only. Rivers Bitcoin only. Stay away from Swan. Strike's not even on here. But there's a good list for you. So I'll put that in the pinned comments below as well. What was I going to do there? Pinned comments. Okay, so I'll share some of those links if there's people that want to access them. Right? I don't have links for all these. Some of them are just my suggestions. But definitely if you're in Canada or the US, give Bitcoin Well a try. I'm going to do some, I'm going to give away some Bitcoin on behalf of Bitcoin Well here in a second. Do I have Bitcoin Well or Bull Bitcoin? I'm just going to throw a bunch in here. So I got Bitcoin Well, Bull Bitcoin, River, and I'll put ShakePay in there too. ShakePay is great. I use ShakePay pretty much every day for buying things because you get sats back instead of like airline miles. So I think that's it. One thing I did want to mention though here is I got a couple different things I'm working on right now. So one of them is actually this lightning list I said that I was going to talk about here. So this is something I just kind of came up with the last little while. And hopefully I'm not doxing anybody here, but whatever. It's not doxing anybody. There's no names in here. But, you think about mailing lists where you can sign up for like a newsletter or something, and then you just get bombarded with emails and you're like, what the hell? I didn't sign up for this, but you did. Or you were a Ledger user and they sold your email address to somebody else. But anyways, one thing I'm going to be doing now is I have this lightning list. So every once in a while, I don't know if it'll be every week or every couple weeks or every month, I'm going to send some sats to everybody who's on this list with a message there. It'll be some sort of like, this is what we're working on. Go over here, check this out, blah, blah, blah. It'll be me promoting something probably, but I'll pay you for it. Like kind of like Zappvertising. So I'm building a mailing list, but I'm calling it a lightning list. So if you want to if you have a lightning address and you want to get it on the lightning list, I'm basically just going to copy and paste all these and put it into I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to do it. So just email 88sats@proton.me if you want to get added to the lightning list. And every once in a while, you might receive a couple sats with a message on it. So these are the people who have signed up so far. And yeah, that's the lightning list. No, there's no sort of, you don't have to KYC. You don't have to jump through any hoops. Literally just send an email with your lightning address and I'll add you to the spreadsheet here. And every once in a while, you'll get airdrops some free Bitcoin. And you don't even have to read the message. you can just say, oh, there's a couple sats from Jor. I got better things to do. But I feel like if I'm promoting something, you should be paid for it. That's kind of my mentality with it. So that's the lightning list. And the last thing that I want to say here is I mentioned that, let me save that. I mentioned that I forgot to bump up our school. Actually, I should take this off so I don't. Actually, I have 2 posts at the top there, so I won't be able to. So you can see here our Visionaries community went from like 80 members last show that we did all the way up to 126. So this community is absolutely buzzing. Buzzing. Every time I go on there, there's 10 new posts. And there's a shitload of content here. And this is our new Bitcoin school that we're working on. So this is every day for 2026. I'm doing a 10, 15, 20 minute. These are both 20-minute videos. And a lot of good information in there. So if you do want to sign up, it's again, school.com/88 sats. And I forgot to up the price right before the show. So basically, if you join in the next half an hour, you're going to get a lower price. 67% off. It's going from 8 to 21. So you have about half an hour. As soon as the show ends, I'm going to bump up the price and that'll be it. And you actually lock in your price forever. So if you join at $8 a month, that's going to be your rate forever. Even if we jump to $200 a month, you're still going to be paying $8. So you get all this content here, all these videos organized for you, all this exclusive content here, and of course, access to the vast network of future multimillionaires and billionaires. So do not discount that. And finally, I'm going to be adding all these videos as well to the YouTube channel. So if you're like, yeah, I don't want another app, I don't want to sign up for anything else, you can actually join as a Bitcoin School membership tier on YouTube, and you'll get access to all the Bitcoin School videos. So again, the course officially starts March 15th, 2026. But if you're a member before that, you're basically going to get 2.5 months of bonus content, talking about mindset, body, health, Nostr, income streams, all this stuff. Every day, new video there. So if you like Bitcoin stuff, if you like what I'm doing, that's the best way to do it. Oh, we just had somebody join. My favorite noise. So welcome to whoever that is. I don't want to dox you. But that's it. That is and if you're watching this on Saturday, I apologize. You're a little bit too late to join at that price. So right after the show today, you got about half an hour. If you want to join, now would be the time to do it. But that's it. That's lesson number 11. We're going to carry this conversation on next week. We're going to be talking about the same kind of stuff. I got some strategies, some tips in terms of buying, because there's much more to this than just simply sending somebody money and getting exposure to Bitcoin. There's a lot that goes into it. So that's lesson number 11. Thanks for watching. If you're watching the replay on Saturday, and for everybody else, we'll carry on. So there we go. We did it. We should check on Nostr. We'll catch up on some chats here. We'll catch up on some chats. We'll give away some Bitcoin. We'll buy some Bitcoin. Hey, we got 20 people on Nostr. Wow. What a crew today. So I missed a couple here. Chuck zapped 111 units of sovereignty. Thank you, Chuck. Cannon zapped 420 and said 1 million sat UTXO at a time. Just need 100 of them. Exactly. Get 100 1 million sat UTXOs and you're a Bitcoiner. Not that hard, is it? Is it? I don't think so. We got Letha the Icon over in the Nostr chat. Letha zapped 1,000 units of freedom and said, hi, guys. Hi, Letha. Thank you for the support, as always. We got 21 people over in Nostr right now. Nice. Forrest Hoddle, the man, zapped 21 sats and said, great post. Thank you, Forrest. And Moravian zapped 750 units of sovereignty. Thank you, Moravian. Very, very, very much. Okay, we got a couple more here to report, I believe. I missed one from MDX. Is it MDX? Or was that? I thought I saw it. MDRX, sorry. 456. Thank you, thank you. All right. So let's check on the chat. And at the end of the show, we're going to officially increase the price live on the air from 8 to 21. So if you do want to join the school, now would be the time to do it. And again, I've guaranteed that that's going to be the best investment you make in 2026. I'm personally guaranteeing that if you don't get what you think you're going to get out of it, December 31st, 2026, I will refund 100% of your membership fees. 100%. No questions asked. Nick says use Aqua to consolidate on Liquid and add privacy. Yes, good point. Great point there. I just didn't want to really confuse people, Nick, but yes, 100% agree. Moravian says he uses Kraken as of now. So Moravian is in, I'm not going to dox him, but he's in Europe. So he uses Kraken because they support Lightning. Good info there. Forrest says Swan seems like a shit show. I agree, man. I would never suggest somebody buy Bitcoin from Swan. I don't know. There's just too much funny business the last couple of years. And somebody in the comments section last week said, "Hey, Jor, quit drinking while you're streaming. It's bad for the AMSR audio." So to that person, I say, GFY. I'm going to spill on my microphone and have to get a new one like Rajat. Duncan zapped 1,000 units of freedom and said, missed it again, but we'll watch later. Okay, well, it's probably bedtime there, Duncan. Or damn close. So thank you, my friend. Thanks for showing up once again today. And let's see what's going on in the chat. Are we, is our buddy here again? No, he's not. Wow. We got about a fraction of the chats this week. Thank God. Actually, we had another dipshit in the chat on Saturday who stole a bunch of attention from people. So I think I blocked him. I don't like blocking people, but when they're just being annoying, then they're gone. Catch you later. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do some Q&A. I don't know how long the show is going to be today. I usually don't leave any questions unanswered here. So we're going to do some Q&A or address some chats. And then we got a couple more things. I want to do a new segment today too, if we have time. What? Okay. J-Dog. Oh, I missed MDRX. Smash the like. Good man. We got J-Dog UK. Says, nice one, Jor. Caught me off guard. Like the stream? Thought it was snowing out there, but it's just wind blowing off the trees. Alex is here again for the afternoon show. Double header on Tuesdays for the community. Good to see you, Alex. Sats and Sunsets, good afternoon. Was just finishing watching up the morning show. Man, we got some people. We got some serious people in this community here. Nav says, I bought this morning. Of course, we get a drop. Yeah, that's how she goes. That's how she goes. Bitcoin Barber. Hola. Good to see you. Going to be an interesting 2 years, I would say, to say the least. Smash the button of like. Yes, that would be helpful, but not necessary. There's better ways to support the show, but if all you can do is like, we will take that. Sergeant Crow. Laughing at something. Duncan says, strike to Aqua to Liquid, back to on-chain, then to the freezer. There's a guy who knows what he's doing right there, folks. Again, another big shout out to Sats and Sunsets. So let me share this quickly here. Because I do think that there's going to be people who want to do this. Whether you do it today or tomorrow or whenever, it doesn't really matter much. But I do want to highlight this quickly. Because So if we go to memberships, levels. Okay, so this is the new setup over in YouTube now. So you got the Bitcoin Journeyman, which is kind of the existing one that we had before, which is $2.99 per month. I appreciate everybody who did it. I didn't realize it was that low. But anyways, that's just kind of a support. If you want to support the channel, you like what we're doing, and you don't have the ability to send over Lightning, Journeyman. Bitcoin School, as I mentioned there, you can actually join this tier now called Bitcoin School, and you'll get the video every single day for 2026. And then we get a lifetime member here, which is kind of a new thing. So if you're interested in that, you can check it out. And if you're not, you can carry on with your day. Bitcoin Barber says the biggest misconception in Bitcoin is that people think they know or can predict what Bitcoin is going to do. Yes. But Bitcoin continues to tell the truth regardless of what you think or know. Very well said. Very well said. Sats and Sunsets is a effing legend. I agree with that strongly. Alex said I signed up for Daniel's course. It's a great investment. I highly recommend it. There you go. Live testimonial in the chat from Alex. Alex all the way in Germany. Cannon says, what's up for zapping you on Nostr now? Nice. Proof of work. Good man. Jolly. Am I pronouncing that Jolly? Jolly? Biggest misconception is most people think they need to invest a lot of money into Bitcoin to get started. True. Yes, it's too expensive. Buck52 says 20.5 ounces for one Bitcoin. Sats and Sunsets, I'm willing to bet there's more gold in the ocean than we have on land. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that, right? That's what gold bugs conveniently leave out of the conversation. It's like there's a freaking ton of gold yet to be mined. They know that it's there. They know it's there. There's examples of this in certain parts of Africa, in El Salvador, in China. There's a bunch of this gold because that's the dilemma that gold holders have, right? Is like, we know there's $1 trillion worth of gold in this mountain here. And then, of course, you look into things like the Grand Canyon, Chocolate Mountain in California, absolutely full of gold, among other things. But that's the dilemma in gold is like, we know this gold's here, but if we take it out of the ground, that's going to absolutely flood the market with new supply, and it's going to drop the price of gold. So what they instead do is they're like, okay, well, the inflation rate of gold is 2%, so that's all we're going to do. So they don't count all the gold that hasn't been mined yet. They know it's there, but they haven't taken it out of the ground yet because they don't want to flood the market with new supply. It's crazy. Forrest says, always the most attended Nostr stream from what I've seen. Are you talking about like the show? This show? Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'll even look at like Simply Bitcoin on Nostr, and there's like 5 people watching. But I love Nostr. I'm a very, very big fan of Nostr, in case you couldn't tell. What is the issue with Ledger wallets? Well, where do you begin? Ask that question to AI. They'll tell you. Lots of issues. Get yourself a cold card if you don't have one yet. Exactly. Everything with Ledger is closed source, and they have a bad track record of data leaks, which actually we're going to talk about a little bit today. This is probably going to be more of a problem in the future too. And this is why I tell everybody at the start of like the courses that I do, the courses that I've made. By the way, there's like 40 freaking courses on that school page too that I just failed to mention, but lots of good info on there. But that's kind of the thing that I mentioned is like, start with a brand new email address. If you have the ability to get yourself a PO box to get hardware devices sent to, because this is probably going to be a big part of a big issue in the future, where companies like Ledger either sell data or leak it, or it gets leaked, and then somebody has your host address. And if you have a ledger, you probably have some crypto that somebody can steal. So massive, massive issue there with Ledger. See, here's the thing is like I've seen the data leaks. I didn't mind because private keys weren't exposed. So you're okay with criminals knowing your home address? I mean, I'm not trying to shit on you here, Doc. But that's an issue. Is if criminals have your home address and they obviously know you have Bitcoin or crypto, that's a problem. Big problem. Just bought another ledger. Wow. Yeah, if hackers know you bought a ledger and have your address, that's a recipe for a bad future scenario. Exactly. Forrest gets it. The only two wallets that I would actually recommend to people, I used to recommend Jade, but I've since stopped. But the only two recommendations I would have for anybody who's serious about Bitcoin is Cold Card, which I just shared a link to. You get 5% off a Cold Card if you use that link, and the Foundation Passport. It's the only two wallets, or only two devices, I should say. I wouldn't even mess with anything else. It's not worth it. How do you respond to people who shout Ponzi scheme? I try to explain decentralization, but people don't want to listen or learn. Yeah, I would just walk away. And the reason I say that is because if we look at, I'll add this kind of as an aside on the, where can we put that? Right here. We already got it here. Look at that. Every time, this is a good checklist for everybody to use. Every time you're about to have a conversation with somebody about Bitcoin, or somebody makes a comment about Bitcoin, you just have to ask yourself this. This is how I ask it. Oh. And I've avoided several conversations in the last couple of months by using this. Are they ready to be saved by Bitcoin? And I would say if there are at least three of these, I would say the most important ones are sovereign, awakened, and empowered. Those are kind of the three most important ones. 5 out of 5 is great. There'll be a Bitcoiner tomorrow. But if they're not sovereign, if they're not ready to be more sovereign, if they haven't lost trust in the system, they're not ready to be a Bitcoiner. They're not ready to be saved by Bitcoin. And that's the save part here is SAVED. Sovereign, awakened, visionary, empowered, and disciplined. And awakened is probably part of this. The question that you asked there, which is when people shout Ponzi scheme, if they think that Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme, they obviously don't understand the fiat dollar system. So they're not awakened. They don't know that there's a problem there yet. And if they don't know there's a problem, they're not ready for the solution. So in this case, I would just like not even waste my time. I would just say, you're right. It might be a Ponzi scheme. And then just walk away because it's not worth your time and energy. It's not. If they're not these things, then you're going to have a 0% chance of orange pilling them or whatever you want to call it. It's not worth your time. Do I like Bitcoin Well? I love Bitcoin Well. That's who I use for Bitcoin. Why don't I recommend Coinbase? Because they are, I don't want to say too much. I would never recommend anybody buy from Coinbase. Coinbase. Another one is when people hear Bitcoin, they think crypto. I've spoken to people and they immediately start to, 100%. This is like the majority of the population. They still tie Bitcoin and crypto in the same sentence. Again, they're not awakened. They don't know the difference. So many people don't even know what crypto is. So many people don't even know crypto is short for cryptography. They think crypto is a made up thing. Have you guys ever seen that Johnny Hamcheck on Instagram? God, he's funny. He's the guy that just walks up to random people and pretends he's somebody else. Like, what are his names? Oh, we might have an appearance from Arnie here. Arnie boy. There he is. His name's Johnny Hamcheck, but he calls people like he's looking for, I forget all the freaking names he uses. But anyways, he asked people if they have any, he talks about like Mike, and he'll say like, yeah, Mike got into a lot of trouble smoking crypto. So he basically just replaces like a hard drug with crypto, and people don't even like try to correct him. They're just like, no, I've never even heard of crypto before. So it's funny because we live in this bubble in a way where we kind of assume that everybody has the knowledge that we have in our brains, when the reality is like, not only do most people have no idea the difference between Bitcoin and crypto, or the fact that the US dollar is the biggest Ponzi scheme in history, they're nowhere near ready for Bitcoin. They would never have a chance to explain like the importance of absolute scarcity, the importance of having a network that cannot be shut down, or the difficulty adjustment, why Bitcoin's stuck in time versus stuck in the ground like other similar assets. It's just, we're so far ahead. And I don't mean to sound like cocky or arrogant there, but we are. And we really have to remind ourselves of this often, because it's easy to be like, why is Bitcoin only this? Why is Bitcoin only 20 ounces of gold for one Bitcoin? And it's simply because nobody understands what this asset is. And Bitcoin will remain incredibly volatile until like 10, 15, 20% of the population understands what Bitcoin is. Because if nobody understands it, how could it ever be fairly valued? It's not. Bitcoin ATM could be considered non-KYC Bitcoin. Well, it depends. Hey, Corey. Didn't even recognize you there. Got sats, Corey. It depends. Like if you're using Bitcoin well, which you wouldn't have access to in the US, you would basically have to sign up for an account without putting in your phone number or your government ID. So if you're techie enough to figure out how to like get a new phone number that's not associated with you at all, you could possibly do that and do it in a private way. But for the most part, do I have something in my eye? What is that? Was I scratching it? Sociology reader. Another is people, when they hear Bitcoin is money, they have a negative reaction. So they think of it as an investment. But I worry they are missing the innovation. I tell people it's both. Yeah, it's all three. It's a store of value, which is like an investment. It's a medium of exchange, which is like money. And it's a unit of account, which we desperately need. It's all three of those things. It's not just one. And it's the best at all three of those things. Just stack sats, exactly. Sats and Sons is great point. I forgot to put that in there, actually. You could mine for Bitcoin. But again, I wanted to keep this pretty light. You know what I mean? I don't want people to start mining Bitcoin before they're buying Bitcoin. I mean, some people did. That's how it used to be. Bitcoin, isn't that over now? Oh, man. I'm getting hooked on Bitcoin mining. My missus thrills every time a new BitAxe pops up in the cupboard. I'm actually looking at buying a Heatbit, which is essentially a space heater that mines Bitcoin. How's your crypto doing? Yeah, exactly. Bitcoin Kitty, good to see you, my friend. Could the Lightning Network in theory scale to become the default method of transfer? Yes. Yep. There's a lot of issues with it. There's a lot of people that have issues with it, mostly because it's very difficult to take custody of your Bitcoin when it's on Lightning, unless you set up your own node or set up your own node. But I do think there's going to be better ways to do it in the future. Like, I mean, we're 17 years into this thing officially now, 17 years into this. And the amount of innovation and new things that have popped up in those 17 years is unheard of. So I do think it could. Like, I use Lightning every single day, literally. Literally every single day I use a Lightning network, and it rarely fails on me. So yes, I do think. I don't think that we could ever scale on-chain to be used by everybody, like for daily transactions, but it was never designed to be. It was never designed to be. So Lightning's what we'll be using in the future for sure, or a different iteration of that. 2RND says, I use River. I love it. No fees on my DCA. There you go. Another live testimonial for River. I then boost my earnings 0.87 daily on Mevolaxi. No, I do not support that at all. Unless I'm missing something here. I don't know what Mevolaxi is, but if it's a crypto or anything like that, I absolutely do not support that. I've been there, done that. Got burned. Got the t-shirt. Bitcoin Barber says, I use River too. I have an emergency fund there in cash. There you go. That's like literally the perfect scenario that you could have. River, use it for buying. You also keep cash on there. River actually pays you in Bitcoin. River pays you in Bitcoin. 3.5%, I think, for holding cash on there. And if you follow the Rajat strategy or the Maple Bitcoin barbell strategy, Bitcoin and cash is all you need. So you could use River for both buying Bitcoin and holding cash on River while actually earning Bitcoin on your emergency fund, your cash reserve, just like Bitcoin Barber does here. Martin's Hillary, pass. Gemini, Senior Gringo Poppy, Gemini. What country are you in that you use Gemini? I actually don't know what country you're in. King Cosmic. Cheers. Cheers to you, my friend. Let's finish this coffee. Oh yeah, let's get to a couple other things here. Let's keep the action going here. I'm going to go to our weekly smash buy. So this is the most important part of the show, in my opinion. And so today is January the 6th. And this is the key. And even if we do this every day on our daily show. We do this every single day. We're also doing it on the channel here. So this is kind of the key here, is that it does not matter how much you buy. It only matters that you buy. And you do it very consistently, either daily, weekly, hourly. It does not matter how much you're buying here, because you can trade 11 units of illusion for 9,000 units of sovereignty today. So it does not matter how much you're buying. The only thing that matters is you're doing it, and you're doing it very consistently. Because again, the thesis for me is that one day, one sat will equal $1, which means you can trade $11 today for $9,005 at some point in the future. It's an absolute no-brainer. So you want to be doing this stuff very consistently. And so that's what we do here. Every week on the show, we smash buy. I do this on the show because it's a little bit more, intelligent buying. And I believe we're up right now. So we might actually only buy $8 right now. We're definitely up from last week. So we'll buy $8 today. And so if you're going to participate today, let me know how many dollars you spent and how many sats you got. Because that's another important part of this, is like there's no price of Bitcoin. There's exchange rates. So if I send $10 to the exchange to buy Bitcoin in Canada, I would get less sats than somebody who sent $10 in America. So that's another fun part of this, is people say, I bought $10 worth of Bitcoin and I got 11,000 sats for it. Then you can see country to country, how much it fluctuates based on the strength of the currencies. So there's no exchange rate, or there's no price of Bitcoin. It's the exchange rate. So we're going to buy $8 today, and we'll see how many sats that gets us. So again, if you are participating in the weekly smash buys here with us, put in the chat how much you spent, how many fake units you sent, and how many real units you received. How many units of illusion you spent, and how many units of freedom you received. So I'm going to trade $8 today, and I got 6183, 6183, 6183. So I traded 8 units of illusion, 8 units that can be printed out of thin air. And I exchanged that for 6,183 units of the hardest money in human history. So that's why it does not matter how much you buy. It does not matter. The only thing that matters is that you buy, and that you buy consistently. So that's our weekly smash. And we got a couple coming in here. Duncan, look at that. One pound. 1 unit of illusion in exchange for 1,459. Wow. The pound's strong, man. $1 for me would get what? Like 600 sats? Duncan pretty much gets double the amount for the same fake unit. J-Dog got 7,194 units of freedom in exchange for 5 quid. And I do know what a quid now. I knew what it was before. And Alex spent €5 and she got 6,285 units of freedom. Nice. Okay, what else we got going on here? Let's get this off the screen for now. Let's save that. Let's do a quick check on our friends over on Nostr. Letha got 22,443 freedom units in exchange for $21 US. Very nice, Letha. Very nice. Okay, whatever happened to Bitcoin, baby? Who gives a Usually buy on Gemini and use the Gemini credit card to send the sats weekly to cold storage. Nice. Rich says, good morning. I value your opinion. Why do you not like Swan? Thanks in advance. Maybe a few more details on Swan. I would say the 2 main reasons for me are like the people pulling the strings at Swan. I don't think that they're good people. This is just based on what I've heard from people that I trust. I don't know them. I don't have any exact reason for that. It's just that people that I trust in Bitcoin have said that the upper management, the executives at Swan, are not good people. So that's one. Second one is that they actually had a lot of issues with, there was 2 things. I think that they actually overstated their financial statements because they were getting investors or something like that. There was something that crisscrossed there where they were overstating revenue to trick people, essentially. And then the other one is they actually stole funds from their customers because they started using a different custodian, and the custodian took like a $65 fee out of everybody's account without notifying them or giving them any sort of notice. Just a really suspect business, in my opinion. Again, I've never used them. I have no affiliation or any whatevers. That's why I like having 0 sponsors on the show, because I can say stuff like this. But yeah, I just don't trust them. I would not recommend Swan. Maybe kind of a general there, but that's what you get. Crypto Princess. And again, if you like Swan, if you have had success with them and like them, then go ahead. Crypto Princess, Happy New Year to you. Good to see you in the chat. I know someone who's been using Ledger for 7 years, no issues. You mean no issues yet? Bitcoin Barber, I don't have a Ledger. I got 12 tangems. Hopefully you're joking. I like Ledger, but don't keep Bitcoin. That's a play. That's a play. That's a good play. VHF, I've been using Ledger for 4 years. No problems. You mean no problems yet? Jeff Booth's new protocol explanation is good. Last new one we had was the internet itself. Love me some Jeff Booth. Bitcoin finally went public. Aljo McFly, I haven't seen you for a while. Bitcoin finally went public and you are getting out. Sure. Know that bigger forces will bore, as in boredom, you out of your sats. Watch out. Bitcoin finally went public and you are getting out. I don't know who that's about. Duncan says, advice of the day. Anyone who is not a member of Jor's channel or Maple Bitcoin, sign up. Best investment you will ever make. Wow. Those are some very kind words there, Duncan. And Duncan, I don't think lightly of that because Duncan's been around for a long time now. Oh, we had 2 people sign up now. Again, at the end of the stream, we're going to raise the price from $8 a month to $21. We're going to do it live on the show. So if you feel like joining, if you have any ideas of joining, you can always join for a month and cancel it. What's $8? That's the cost of a fucking coffee now. So again, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but Bitcoin School there, you're going to get 2.5 months of bonus content. And at the end of the show, it's going to go from $8 to $21. So last heads up here for that. We're going to do it live on the air. And I think I just shared the link there. Yes. Vulgar Beats, I have a Ledger, no issues. You mean no issues yet? What the heck is this? 10 euros equals 0.00012 Bitcoin. I don't know what that is. I speak in sats. I'm guessing that would be 12,000 sats. Shamdez, whereby in EU? Kraken, I think we looked at Coin Corner was the other one. Duncan says Strike. Revolut. Strike. There you go. You got some answers there, my friend. Moravian Zap 167 said, I'm back. Nice. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I just want to run through a couple different, actually, let's give away some Bitcoin. Anybody who's stuck around this long, you're going to have a chance to win some Bitcoin, courtesy of our friends at the Bitcoin Well. And again, I'm going to mention this again and again and again because I use Bitcoin Well myself. I think they are the best platform, especially if you're a Canadian. And they're a supporter of the show. They're not a sponsor. They just feel like if we mention them, not only are you going to get some free sats for signing up, but you're also going to, they want to give some sats to the community here. So I'm going to do a couple tosses into the Bitcoin wishing well. So get your Lightning wallet out if you have. Wallet of Satoshi, Speed, Coinos, whatever you got, open it up, press send. And the first person to scan this QR code is going to win some sats. Here you go. What will it be? 569. Nice. We had somebody win, what was it? 210,000 sats a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago. I don't even know what it was now. Courtesy of Bitcoin Well. So these sats are from Bitcoin Well, not me. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you here. So hopefully somebody snagged that. If not, I'm going to claim it here. Suckers. Let's see. Okay. Hoping somebody got it by now. These things usually go fast. Okay, claimed. Oh, we got the 1 sat bandit. We got 1 sat to Arnie's wallet. Thank you so much. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do another one here. Why not? We got nowhere else to be right now. 462. I want to hit a big one here. 462. Who is going to win? If you won, put it in the chat or don't. It's up to you. We very much value your privacy here. Okay, so there is the second toss, and we'll do one more for to round out the threes. Let's have a big one here, Bitcoin Well. Come on. Let's have a fatty. 598. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. 598. So again, if you are in Canada, if you are in the United States, and even if you're using a different exchange right now, I would just try out Bitcoin Well. It's not going to hurt anything, right? You sign up for an account, you buy a couple $100 worth of Bitcoin, you go through the process of it. If you don't like it, at least you have another exchange kind of in your back pocket, in your Bitcoin toolbox, in case you ever need it, in case your exchange ever goes down, goes out of business, down for maintenance, whatever it is. So I would that'd be my recommendation for today, is just give Bitcoin Well a shot. Go through the experience of buying, sending it to your wallet. You can do free swaps between on-chain and Lightning on there, which I haven't seen anywhere else. You can pay bills. You can use Lightning. You can set up a recurring buy. Ton of different things. And they got that fun wishing well too, that you get, I think, 5 tosses for just using that link there. So bitcoinwell.com/Jor. Just give them a shot. If you don't mind, let me know what your experience is like. But yeah, if you don't like them, just go back to what you were using. If you do like them, keep using them. This isn't rocket science, or as Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys would say, this isn't rocket appliances. Okay, so I'm going to go through one thing I want to start doing on the show here. Did I miss anything as part of our agenda? Let me just double check here. Okay, where are we? 88 lessons. Okay, the game plan was to do the lesson, done. Q&A, done. Lightning list, done. Weekly smash, done. Take a sip of the drink for the hater in the comments, done. Bad for his ASMR. Could you imagine? Could you imagine I gotta remember where I am right now. If this was on the Daily Show, I would say more. But a YouTube channel that you get for free. A guy spends 2 hours of his scarce, precious time giving you information, and you tell him not to take a drink while he's on the live stream because it hurts your audio, your ASMR. People, man. People. Okay, what was I just... Oh, Nostr. Let's get to some Nostr news here. I want to share a couple different things here. So at the end of every episode here, I know we only got about 10 minutes left, hopefully. But I want to just kind of bring everybody up to speed. If there's anything that you missed throughout the week, just kind of things you should be aware of. I don't have a name for the segment yet, but this is the kind of stuff that people pay for, to be part of like a group or a mailing list. But I'm just going to give it to you for free because I like you. So speaking of Ledger, it's from TFTC this morning. Scammers are sending phishing emails to Ledger users following the recent data leak, including a fake Ledger Trezor merger notice designed to trick users into handing over their wallet access. So this is the kind of shit you got to deal with. And for most people out there, they're like, oh, shit, that's kind of cool. Ledger I've heard of, Trezor I've heard of. They merged. That makes sense. I'm just going to gladly hand over my private keys. And it's gone. So that's the kind of shit you got to deal with Ledger. I know there's a lot of Ledger fans in the chat randomly, but I'm here to tell you the truth. Another one here. Ledger customers impacted by third-party global eData breach. So again, imagine buying a device like Ledger. You're trusting them, right? And the problem with companies like Ledger, where they have Bitcoin and all the shit coins, is they have too much going on. They have too much distractions. That's why I suggest using Bitcoin only exchanges, Bitcoin only devices, Bitcoin only everything. If there's any shit coins in there, they're distracted. They're not securing your information well enough. Straight up. So you buy a ledger, it shows up to your house. Whoever you bought it from, their database gets leaked. Criminals now have your home address. They show up at your house knowing you have a ledger there with probably Bitcoin and crypto on it. You're in trouble. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm not here to shit on ledgers. Just, I would never go near a ledger with my Bitcoin. Never. Maybe if you have crypto and you're like, this is my crypto wallet, good. Because if you lose it, it's probably worth the same as if you have it. So Bitcoin, we take a little bit more seriously around here. I was going to talk about that, but we don't really have time for it. Maple AI. Maple's newest thinking model outperforms GPT-5, Grok 4, and Claude Sonnet 4.5. Open models are here to compete. So if you are somebody who uses AI a lot, I would highly encourage you to check out Maple AI. And you can just go to trymaple.ai, I believe. Trymaple.ai. Yes, trymaple.ai. There you go. Right in the chat there for you. Because they use encryption. So when you put sensitive data in there, like I use Perplexity, I use Claude, I don't use ChatGPT, but I use other things. But if it's something that's kind of sensitive or that I don't want the world to know, like medical stuff or private information or financial stuff, I use Maple. So they use all these different models, and I'll kind of give you an example here because I think it's important to kind of know. So it says encrypted at every step here on Maple. Big time Bitcoiners too, which I love. I paid for my premium membership with Bitcoin. So you type something in and you can actually use you can check out all the models. So it's not like Maple AI has their own model. They just use these different models and you can kind of pick and choose based on your whatever you need, which one you want to use there. So I like this because you can actually, this is kind of a new feature that they have where you can kind of say, do I want something that's just kind of general? Do I want a quick response? Do I need a deep analysis? Do I use images and stuff like that or coding? And it'll kind of give you the best recommendation, the best model. So let's try maple.ai. Highly suggest. Highly recommend. Kimi. Looks like they teamed up with Maple or they're using it on Maple now. Kimi. And the last one here, which is, I don't know what this is. Travala. I'm guessing it's a travel agency. But just a heads up here, I found this on Nostr and it says, do not use Travala.com anymore if you did. They directly stole my money. So again, I don't know what Travala is. I've never used them. This is just something that showed up on Nostr and got a lot of 0 zaps for that. That's interesting. 60 reposts. 0 zaps. Wow, that's savage. Savage Nostr. Was there anything else? There's Forest right there. This is the video we watched on the show this morning. Really, really, really good video. There's the price of Bitcoin today in gold terms, 20.92. And there's our favorite guy right there, the Daily Arnie. So if you're not on, I missed this too. Strategy bought another 1,286 Bitcoin casually. World's fighting, the world's at war. Everybody's arguing about everything, and Saylor is stacking Bitcoin. So if you don't know what Nostr is and you're kind of curious, it's like Nostr is the place you want to hang out as a Bitcoiner. Nostr is the place you want to hang out as a Bitcoiner. You're going to learn so much. You're going to meet other Bitcoiners. You can send a zap to somebody and get their attention. Somebody like Jeff Booth, somebody like Matt Odell, somebody like Marty Bent. They're on Nostr and they're very active on Nostr. Guy Swan. And so you get on there and you can allocate like $5 or $10 worth of Bitcoin and send a few zaps. And it's like the best investment you could ever make. And so that's actually one thing I'm going to be spending a lot of time talking about in the Bitcoin school this year for the first kind of 2.5 months before the Bitcoin school course starts, is Nostr. Like how to get set up, how to optimize it, what to think about, what to post, all these different things. So that's going to be a big part of our first 2 months in Bitcoin school. So Bitcoin school is going to be that. First 2.5 months are just going to be random topics with Bitcoin mixed into it. Nostr is going to be a very heavy focus on that. And by the end of 2026, I want everybody who's going through that, and I want to get at least 100 people going through that course at the same time. But I want every single person who's going through that Bitcoin school course to be in a multi-sig setup. That's the goal. That's our main direction, main focus point of the course, is I want everybody to either be in a multi-sig or be comfortable and confident enough to set it up the next day. So that's kind of the main direction for the Bitcoin school course. And again, I've mentioned this a couple times now, but I'll mention it once more. The price of the school is going to go from $8 a month to $21 a month in about 5 minutes or less here. So if you want to join as the very last member at that rate, there you go. The Bitcoin Butcher says, hi there from Florence, Italy. Thanks for all your videos. You are very helpful. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for being here. And somebody sent in 55 sats to you, Arnie. Don't know who that was, but maybe Sharon B. Maybe not. But whoever it was, thank you. Okay. Did I miss anything here? Bitcoin went public in the sense that BlackRock and others started offering ETFs, which means retail, bigger net worth individuals is widening. 100%. The young Chuck Norris. Who are you talking about? Who was I talking about? Duncan knows his onions. Good man. If it isn't in the app, it's not legit. Don't trust those email scams. Or just don't use a ledger. That's a simple version. So yeah, if anything, the Bitcoin road is just starting. Agreed. Dean says, how does tokenization of RWA tie into Bitcoin? I don't know what RWA is, Dean. All roads lead to Bitcoin, 100%. That's the right answer to everything. That is the right answer to everything. Hey, there you go. What's Sharon B? I knew it. I knew it. Alrighty. Real world assets. How does the tokenization of RWA tie into Bitcoin? Yeah, it's the same thing. Okay, got you, Dean. It's the same thing, and that's like the biggest. That was like Peter Schiff's main argument at the debate that they had. It was like, yeah, we don't have it yet, but like my company and other companies are going to tokenize gold. Okay, cool. So you might be able to send zaps with gold. In fact, there's already Tether Gold, I believe, that you can use on Rumble. So it's kind of already tokenized, Peter. I hate to break it to you, but whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's real estate, whether it's anything else, you're still putting 100% of your trust in the holder of your asset. So let's say you had like 20 ounces of gold, which is the equivalent of 1 Bitcoin. You have that tokenized. Somebody else is holding that Bitcoin for you. So unless you have like a live cam into your safety security box or your vault, and not only that the Bitcoin's there, but it's like nobody else has that same camera feed. Is the gold legitimate or not? Is it fake gold? Is it real gold? That's the whole issue with gold, is even if it's tokenized, yes, you bring gold into like the new economy, the new financial system, but it still requires trust. Bitcoin, you don't have to trust anybody. You can run a node and you can verify it yourself at your house. Or you can use the mempool website. If you don't trust mempool website, you can use your own mempool and your own copy of the ledger with a Bitcoin node. So that's that. That's that. And I haven't mentioned this for a while now, but if you are somebody who's like kind of serious about Bitcoin, you want to take it to the next level in Bitcoin, get yourself a Start9. Get yourself a Start9 device there. And I just shared this store, Start9. I have the Pure, I believe it's called, the 4 terabyte Pure. It's like $1,000, but you can use it to run a node and for a bunch of other things too. But if you use the code 88sats, you get like 50 or $60 off. So even if you're not ready to do it today, at least bookmark that, pin the discount code so you can save a little bit of money when you are ready to buy a Start9. I use mine for much more than just running a node, for storing data, for buying and selling Bitcoin kind of privately. There's a bunch of different things you can do with it. So yeah, junk. I mean, it's coming. Like everything will be tokenized for sure. But it lacks that. And people will eventually understand that. And they'll be like, well, why would I hold a token to a piece of real estate when I can just own Bitcoin? So going back to this comment here is like all roads lead to Bitcoin. It'll be a thing for a while and people will be really excited about it. But then they'll realize that they actually have to trust whoever's holding that asset for them. And that's the main problem with it. Centralizes. And then they'll be kind of comfortable sending tokens and setting up wallets. And they'll be like, well, I think I'm just going to use Bitcoin instead. It seems a little bit, seems like a better bet. Oh man, we're 2 hours again. Shit. I'm really trying to keep these under 2 hours. But anyways, I apologize to anybody out there who missed it. Because now if you want to join this community, it's going to be 3x more expensive. Whoops. So let's change this right now. Let's change this right now. $21 a month, and we'll do, oh, that's too low. $210. 17% discount. Nice. Changed. There you go. Hate to break it to you. Everybody joins the school community at the price they deserve. There you go. So that's the show today. Again, I mentioned this at the start of the show, but it's worth mentioning again. I haven't checked my email yet, but I'm guessing there's going to be quite a few messages in there. Where was that now? Oh, wrong spreadsheet. I got too many spreadsheets. Okay, lightning list. So here we go. I haven't updated this obviously since the episode started, but this is the new idea here. So instead of having like a mailing list where I send you a bunch of bullshit through email and you get tired of it and unsubscribe, we got a lightning list. So if you send me an email to 88sats@proton.me, I'll give you a little treat and I will add your lightning address to the lightning list. And every once in a while, maybe every week, every month, whatever it is, I will send you some sats with a little message attached to it. So it's kind of like a mailing list, but with lightning instead. Kind of cool. So that's it. 88sats, proton.me. If you would like to join, and I'm guessing this list is going to be a lot longer when we mention it next week. 210, what did I do? What did I do there, Duncan? I thought I did 210. Tokenizing RWA become obsolete because Bitcoin is the best property. Yeah, probably. You know, I have a bunch of different thoughts on that, and I just don't have the brain capacity to talk about it right now. Save that for a future show, maybe. So, yeah, I mean, thanks everybody for showing up today. Thanks for being in the chat with us. Big shout out to everybody for supporting the channel. Again, I would really like to keep this channel sponsor free. I think it's incredibly important to be able to talk about what I want without any sort of outside influence there. And so if you have supported the channel in any way, big or small, I very much appreciate it. If you haven't yet, consider it, because in my opinion, whether it's this channel or somebody building an open source in Bitcoin, developers, people need your support. Everybody here is on Team Bitcoin. And whether that's a small zap just to say thanks through a QR code, or joining the community, or joining as a member on the YouTube channel, whatever that is, consider it. Show up here every single day. And there are people who support the channel and they mean the world. In fact, their tab's called Angels because that's what they are. But if you're somebody who watches the show every day, watches the videos all the time, and you haven't given anything back, just ask yourself, think that's good? Do you think this is going to continue if nobody supported anybody else? Just a question for you. And again, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but consider it. Today, tomorrow, whenever, if you received any sort of value from me in your life, consider sending some back. Because again, otherwise we're going to have sponsors on here. It'll be a whole different show. So anyways, I thought you did 21. No, I'm pretty sure I did 210. That'd be a good price though for a $221 annual membership. So there you have it, folks. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks for stopping by. There will be a replay of this on Saturday, and then we'll do another live stream next week, Tuesday. So thanks everybody. We'll see you sometime soon. Bye-bye.